You know what's so funny is yesterday was the anniversary of the Pittsburgh Steelers being founded back in 1933. And it's fitting that our offense looks like it was designed in 1933. I'm also, just real quick, in regards to the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin getting wins, this is what I have to say.
Can't keep getting away with it. He can't keep getting away with it.
He can't. He literally can't. Pittsburgh won this game. They should not have. I don't know. New England didn't even look bad. But, like, Pittsburgh did not win this game. New England lost this game, which is such – I've said this. I feel like this is something I say every other game. I said it multiple times last year. So if you're, like, a casual fan of the Steelers, you just watch this to hear, like, me talk about my team, you're probably like, this guy doesn't know anything about football. He just says the same three things. It's because the Steelers do the same three things every single year. Like last week when I said the Pittsburgh Steelers are literally like the equivalent to the one TV show that you've watched, and like when you rewatch, you're like, oh, I know how this is gonna go. That's how Pittsburgh Steelers season is. Like for those of you that have watched, I don't know, what are the most popular shows? The Office, Friends, like Parks and Rec, like all those shows that you just put on as background noise because you've seen every episode, but like you still could say every single line from a certain episode like verbatim because you've seen it so many times. That's what a Pittsburgh Steelers season looks like. It's the exact same stuff. Pittsburgh won 21-14 over the Patriots. Hi, if I told you the Pittsburgh Steelers forced 5 turnovers and only turned the ball over once and they won by a touchdown, you would think I was lying to you. If I had told you that Pittsburgh Steelers forced 5 turnovers and scored 21 points, you'd be like, oh, okay, the score was 21-0 probably. No. And the funny thing is, if I told you the Pittsburgh Steelers forced 5 turnovers, you'd be like, oh, the defense was good. No. How do you force 5 turnovers and still look like a horrible defense? Actually blows my mind. The middle of the field, wide open as always. Also, if you're a team in the NFL, if I'm playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would much rather, I mean, it doesn't matter where you are on third down because you're going to pick it up because that's how bad and sorry the Steelers defense has been this season. But if I'm a team playing against the Steelers and it's 3rd and 30, I'm like, it's probably 90% chance we're getting this because Pittsburgh's defense can't stop a nosebleed, let alone a 3rd and 13, 14, 15, 12, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but the important ones are 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. How? Like, it's actually crazy. And like the fumbles, there's so many. My friend Amona is a Patriots fan. The first Ramondre fumble happened, and I was like, might be his career. And then the second Ramondre fumble happened, and I was like, that might be his career. Oh my God, the Eagles might have actually just pulled off the comeback over the Rams, which is like actually nuts. Yeah, Philly's up. That's an insane game. And instead of enjoying myself and giving myself joy by watching a fun football game, I'm going to talk so depressingly. Actually, it's not even depressingly because it's kind of nice because the Steelers, I've said this every week, are like, I this season, I'm like, I'm still going to talk about it passionately because I give my all for this team. But like, I don't care if we lose a Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl this year. I'm not rooting for anything. Speaking of not rooting for anything, let's talk about the game. Let's start with the offense. This offense is not an offense. An offense implies that there are 11 players on the field. This offense is one player. It's not Aaron Rodgers. It's not DK Metcalf. It's not Calvin Austin because Pittsburgh refuses to use Calvin Austin. It's not one of the 7 tight ends that we have. No, this offense is Jaylen Warren. This team should be called the Pittsburgh Jaylen Warrens because he's the only one showing up and clocking in for work routinely. And yet his numbers still, if you were just like a box score watcher or a fantasy player not watching the game, you'd be like, oh, Jaylen Warren's a horrible running back because he had 18 carries for 47 yards. No, Pittsburgh's offensive line is an absolute travesty because Pat Meyer is doing irreparable damage to the city of Pittsburgh, not seen since, I don't know, they were dumping like toxic stuff into the rivers during the steel production era. I actually don't know if that's true. I'm just assuming because like in the Industrial Revolution that was happening a lot. So I could have just pulled something out of my ass there. But still, nonetheless, Pat Meyer is doing irreparable damage to the Pittsburgh Steelers organization with his offensive coaching abilities for the offensive line. But yeah, Jaylen Warren, and then 5 receptions for 34 yards. Like you'd be like, that's not a good. He had a touchdown, by the way. I don't know why they gave it to Kenneth Gainwell, because Pittsburgh's not down on the 1 yard line if it isn't for Jalen Warren. But then, yeah, we'll give the touchdown to Kenneth Gainwell. Who, I mean, even Kenneth Gainwell, how many carries did he have? 4. He looks fine. 4 for 16. I think like out of those 16, one of them went for like 12 yards. So it was probably all the majority of that one play. But no, the offense is so sad, so sad. And if you have not already, listen, I'm a Mike Tomlin defender because this team, I don't know why. I'm a Mike Tomlin defender, actually. I don't know. I genuinely don't know why. But if you can't look at this team now with our 90th quarterback in the last 5 years and our 3rd offensive coordinator and our 3rd defensive coordinator in the last 6 years and be like, or last 7 years, and be like, nah, this is not Mike. It's on Mike. We had 5 turnovers and we scored 7 points off of those. Like, what are we doing? This is the sorriest offense ever because it's stuck in 2011. The last time Pittsburgh was somewhat relevant. The last time Pittsburgh's offense was actually good was when there was another ego in the room in Todd Haley, which is ironic because like that's one of the reasons he got let go is because his ego was too big and like there was clashing going on both between Coach Tomlin and Big Ben. But it's like the last time the offense was good was when there was somebody that was willing to put their foot down and be like, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. And the thing is, Arthur Smith is a good offensive coordinator. He's a mad scientist because of the things he does. I'm looking at you, 4 tight end sets, putting Aaron Rodgers at wide receiver for a Wildcat. Like, he's a mad scientist, but he's a good offensive coordinator. But you wouldn't know that because of how he's being used in Pittsburgh. So, yeah, dude, the offensive struggles and the defensive struggles have been the exact same struggles through the last 7 years. And it's because Mike Tomlin refuses to bring in anybody with actual talent at the coordinator position. And when he finally does, like Arthur Smith, you can tell that he's not letting them actually like cook, you know? He's letting them cook as in like a bowl of cereal. It's not cooking. You're putting 2 things in a bowl. That's not cooking. We need Mike Tomlin to let Arthur pull out the seasonings. He needs to use a stainless steel pan. Like, we need to give him the whole. I've been watching the Great British Baking Show, so like I'm back on my cooking bullshit. And then Terrell Lawson, dude, it might be his last. No, it won't be his last season because Pittsburgh settles for mediocrity, so he's gonna be brought back next year. Same with Pat Meyer. If I could, next season I'm bringing back Arthur Smith because the dude deserves at least a realistic shot. Terrell Lawson's been the coordinator for 4 years now, so like. It is what it is. But I'm fine with changing everything next season. We're going to be drafting a franchise quarterback. Just rehaul the fucking franchise. I'm talking about this like we just got blown out or like we started 0-4. We're 2-1, but Pittsburgh really should not be 2-1. And I need to see who we play next week. Also, dude, the poor Bengals. Oh my! Oh, we play the Vikings next week. Oh, we play I have to wake up at 6. No, I have to watch the Steelers at 6:30 a.m. Which means, I always wake up at 5:30. But that means, oh my God, I'm gonna watch the Pittsburgh Steelers ruin my day before even like 9:30 in the morning because the Vikings defense is legit. Say what you want about Jake Browning. Say what you want about Zach Taylor. That defense forced like 6 turnovers today, which the Pittsburgh Steelers did 5. And yet, here's a great example of what a competent team does versus a conservative team. Competent team gets 6 turnovers and goes, hey, let's put up 48 points. Meanwhile, you're the Pittsburgh Steelers going like, I don't feel like putting up some points right now. Let's just, hey, Art, remember that like, triple tight end screen that you drew up as a joke? Can we run that real quick? And then they do. And even Art's like, really? And Mike's like, yeah. I don't want to run it up too hard right now. We're up by 7. It feels like a zillion. I really was hoping that this season Pittsburgh would just get their shit rocked week after week. Week 1, I had some type of hope for this season because I was like, okay, we put up 32 points. I think the Jets are just that bad. Like, the Jets are so bad this season, and Pittsburgh is the only team that made them look competent. Pittsburgh gave Jets fans hope for the season. That's how bad Pittsburgh is. Like, speaking of ruining hope, I think Mike Tomlin might have also ruined Caleb Johnson's hope for a career. I'm really hoping this isn't the case, but I don't believe he dressed today, or if he did dress, he didn't get a single snap, which I get it. You have to punish for like the boneheaded mistake he made last week. This is a 3rd-round pick. If you're not going to use him, why are you throwing his career in the toilet? Trade him somewhere else, like legitimately. If you draft a player, a mistake is something that you learn from. Failure is a great thing in life because it gives you an opportunity to learn and grow from it. If you get punished for it, but then you bounce back from it, that's awesome because you're given the opportunity to bounce back. If you're not given that opportunity to bounce back, you will never show that you learned from your mistake. And Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin love trying to prove a point. Like, Ramondre Stevenson is a fumble machine. And yeah, but he looked good before his fumbles. Now, for the rest of the game, he didn't play after his second fumble. He still fumbled in this game. And you could tell Mike Vrabel's like, hey, you're fine. You're still going to play in this game. Second fumble, I get it. That is fine. Caleb Johnson needs to still be given a shot, even though I think Jalen Warren is the franchise back for this guy. And this isn't anything against Kenneth Gainwell, because Kenneth Gainwell has looked fine as a running back. But like, you invested in a third round pick into a running back, you're not going to use him. And this is me assuming for the next couple of weeks, if this is the case. I'm speaking out of speculation, but this is not what Pittsburgh should do. It's like next week, I want to see more Caleb Johnson snaps because, okay, let's say Jalen Warren goes out with injury, like, because they elevated Trey Sermon, I believe, from the practice squad because we had an offensive lineman go on the IR due to season-ending injury, and that is another indicator that, like, oh, okay, they don't want to play Caleb. Why would you draft him? I know you have hopes. This is what Pittsburgh does. They give up on players. Like, if you are a rookie, I am begging to not be drafted to the Steelers because they refuse to develop their talent. Jalen Warren wasn't even supposed to be on the team. Dude was an undrafted free agent that just started to look really good in practice, and eventually Pittsburgh was just like, oh, yeah, no, this guy's actually pretty good. He did not develop. He is just that good. That's how it is. Like, next year's draft is so important for Pittsburgh because whatever quarterback they take has to be a naturally gifted talent that does not require any type of coaching, because if we need even a little, like, quarterbacks that would have failed if they were drafted by the Steelers, Anthony Richardson, he's already technically seen as a failure within the league, but it's because he needs coaching. Pittsburgh would not be able to coach him. Kenny Pickett was drafted, needed coaching. Pittsburgh failed him. Anybody from Kenny Pickett's draft class would have been failed in Pittsburgh. CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, anyone from that, Trevor Lawrence, like, these are not players that have enough talent to overcome. I don't want to call it incompetence from a progression standpoint from this coaching staff for quarterbacks, but it really does show, not even just quarterbacks, our offensive line prospects have regressed. Troy Fautano looked really good last season. This is what I was talking about all last season as well. Broderick Jones looked good in his rookie season. He regressed in year 2. Broderick Jones still looks like he's struggling. Troy Fautano looked great in the limited amount of snaps that he had in year 1. Now it looks like he's somewhat regressed. Mason McCormick and Zach Frazier were phenomenal in year 1. It looks like they're struggling in year 2. It's almost like there's a consistent factor here. I've only talked about the offense for the most part. The defense is the most expensive defense in the league, who can't cover the middle of the field. Eccles, who's number 26, kind of drove me nuts for most of the game because he was getting torched in coverage. And then I will give him credit because the interception he had was pretty fucking baller. Like, it got tipped by Cam, but that ball was still on a straight target for Booty. It's his last name. It was still on target, but for Eccles to be dropping down to the flat, which was the correct, like, that was his job, and then see what's going on. And because Drake May, his eyes, like, you can tell Eccles read Drake May's eyes perfectly in that moment. To jump back and get that ball is a great play, but for the most part, he was getting torched. Yeah, man. Drake May looked like a phenomenal quarterback, and I think Drake May is a franchise quarterback, and I think he's going to be a great quarterback in the league. But he should not have looked that good. The run defense still looks very suspect. Derek Harmon had a pretty good game for his first game. He had a sack, which is super cool to see. And I could tell he was making a small impact in the run game. I want to see more next week. But yeah, man, I'm still very, oh my God, the Browns beat the Packers. There's no way. My buddy is a Packers fan, and he was like, this is a trap game. That's actually crazy. Yeah, man, this season has the makings of a 9-8 finish. And also, I'll give TJ Watt some credit. He had 2 sacks. Okay, I will give Terrell Austin this. They're moving TJ around on the line. That was kind of fun to see. Actually got me a little excited. They were moving him to the opposite side. There were moments where he was stunting inside. Like there was some changes. Yeah, he just said, "Told you, brother. I knew it was coming." Yeah. Did the Rams actually blow it? Hold on. We need to keep up with this Rams game real quick. Yeah, the Jets. Pittsburgh really made the Jets look like they were going to take a next step, and they did not do that. Pittsburgh just was that bad on defense. Oh my God. Philly pulled off the upset. Not the upset, but like the comeback, which is so funny because I was talking so much about putting the Rams possibly in Contenders Club. What happened, man? Actually, what happened? Wow. Okay. But yeah, TJ Watt had 2 sacks in this game. We're moving around the line, so that was nice to see him show up a little bit. The D front looked like a little better, but like Drake May still had so much time to pick apart our defense. And yeah, there's not much more. I'm just gonna be the hard thing about doing these recaps at the end of every episode now is like I feel like I'm saying the same thing week after week, which is like if I, a casual football fan, am saying the same things week after week about the Pittsburgh Steelers, imagine what their opponents' game planning for them are. If I'm the opponents, I'm like, all right, okay, also, speaking of the defense, can we stop shading outside on our corners? We got beat in week 1 by the Jets on a crosser play with 2 wide receivers because what you're doing is you're blitzing everybody. You're having your corners shade outside. Both your corners are shading outside on the wide receiver. You have one safety who's then supposed to take one of the receivers to hope and then pray to God that the corner is going to cover the other one. But what happens is when they cross each other like this, it's going to cause a little bit of a stunt, and it's going to be wide open because they're shading outside instead of inside. And then guess what? The Seattle Seahawks did in week 2 as well. Eagles come back to go 3-0, yeah. Seattle did the exact same thing the following week and scored a touchdown on it just like the Jets did. And then I see the Patriots run. It wasn't a touchdown, but there was a play where they run the same thing, and Pittsburgh is shading it outside. Stop shading the outside. If you're going to shade the outside, just play a too high safety and hope that the safety can come over and give them a help instead of just relying on a single corner. You traded for Jalen Ramsey. You didn't trade for 2017 Jalen Ramsey. You traded for 2025 Jalen Ramsey, who still looks really good, but like it's driving me nuts, the schemes of this team. So if I'm playing against the Steelers, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm running nothing but inside slants and drag routes. I'm running nothing but in-breaking routes, like 5 to 7 yard in-breaking routes because everyone is playing 7 yards off and then they're shading outside. That's my offensive game. And then I'm just running the ball down their throat. That's my offensive game plan. My defensive game plan, let the Steelers hurt themselves, basically. Rush 4 people, watch their offensive line collapse within them. I don't even blame the players. That's the hardest thing. I do not blame the offensive line, the players themselves. It is the coaching. Because if this was this season and last season that they were struggling, I'd be like, okay, it's these players. But it has been multiple linemen over multiple years. And we know what the common denominator is. Whatever. I got to wake up I got to watch the Pittsburgh Steelers at 6:30 in the morning next week. Ruin my day, even with a win. Like this, man. Can't wait for 9-8. It's literally so I can see it. It's so obvious. It's staring us in the face. 9-8, 10-7. Knock down the first round of the playoffs if we even make it. Whatever. Hope your guys' team did well. Shout out Armando. The Panthers won today. I'm happy for him. Daniel Jones might be the MVP. What is this league? What is this season? I don't. Anyways, that's all. I'll see you guys next week.